So welcome to the Node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for August 28th, 2019. We will follow our regular agenda, which is in issue number 750. To start out with, does anybody have any announcements that they'd like to share?
Maybe, yeah. There's a PR open that would make Node print a stack trace when you abort the process with SIGINT, like pressing Control-C. And it would be cool if people could take a look at that and say, like, is this something we want to do in this farm? I think the code is ready. It's just like people should take a look at it, say, is it similar major or something? It's PR 29207. I'll post the link.
Okay, we can comment if you think it's. Okay, thanks. Any other announcements? Okay, I will promote Mateo. Okay, so if there's no more announcements, we'll move on to the next section, which is the CPC and board meeting updates. Mateo, since you just joined, do you want to give an update on what's going on at the CPC level?
Very briefly, a lot of things currently being discussed. The things that are more important for the Node community are the travel fund and the organization of the collaborator summit. So the travel fund is there's been a request for feedbacks on by the CPC on the admin repo, and the travel fund management is going to move from the Node fund from the Node TSC and ComCom to the CPC, and get accessible by all the other projects as well. Then the next, regarding the summit, the organization for the summit is going to migrate to the OpenJS Foundation GitHub repository. We are going to migrate the repo from one to the other. And if there are any objection to that, please let me know, and I will try to raise them, but it seems like pretty straightforward. And the organization will take place there. Also, book your travel, like consider coming to the Node+JS Interactive Conference and attending the Collaborator Summit afterwards. So the conference is on the 11th and 12th of December in Montreal, and the Collaborator Summit will be on the 13th and 14th. So please come. We need you, okay? It's the greatest moment about it's one of the greatest moments of the Node community and of the role of the new OpenJS Foundation community. So everybody is welcome to come.
Yeah, it's really a great way to connect with a lot of the discussions that are going on and make progress on things that can take a little bit longer over GitHub, and meet the people. So yeah, I'd echo Mateo's suggestion that it's really something good to attend.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the board level, there was a board meeting last week, and I've added the link to the recording. So if you want to watch the public session, it's there. The one thing I wanted to call out of note is that thinking for the next Node.js Plus Interactive, so in 2020, is underway. And one of the things I thought I just want to make sure people are aware of up front is that the date for next year's, so not this one, but the next one, is potentially going to shift. I think dates in late spring, early summer being considered. Even October was thrown out. And some of that's being driven by sort of event space and when we think we're going to get the best attendance. Other than that, I don't think there was anything of note to call out. Any questions, comments? Okay, then let's move on to the next issues tagged for the agenda. So the first one in the Node.js/Node repo is stream Dota mid-error after destroy. This is number 29197. Feel free, anybody who's involved in that, to jump in. Otherwise, I'm just looking to see how it was added to the agenda. Let's see. I guess Ronag had asked that it be added to the agenda. I think we did have a brief discussion about it last time in terms of needing a little bit more time to review. I don't know if anybody who's been involved has some suggestions, comments.
Just give me a second. I'm going to open up the issue.
Sure.
And here it is. So this visual issue 29197 is a significant change for it's closed the PR right now. Okay. Anyway, the key part here is the key question here, and this is something that we probably need to talk about a little bit, is related to the behavior in streams. So when a stream's error, it's still possible in a lot of cases that error will be emitted again. And there is no way to intercept that in any form and tear it down the stream properly. What Ronang is progressing here is essentially a semi major change to streams where if destroy is called again after the first time, we are not calling destroy. We are not emitting the error again. So essentially, multiple call to destroy, even if they have an error, will be silent. So that error will essentially be swallowed. And we are typically be very careful in swallowing error in Node.js. So that's why this is a trigger. This is a significant change.
And is it typical that destroy gets called multiple times?
No.
And I guess the other issue too is like, if you do call it, I mean, I can understand why if you called it the second time and there was an error, you might still want to know there was an error, right?
Yes.
Is it that you can't actually, like, you call destroy and it won't destroy it because there is an error, or? No,
the overall problem is that a destroy will destroy the stream. So the key question is, after a destroy, after a stream is destroyed,
right?
Okay. If I try to destroy it again with an error, what is going to happen?
I see. So you destroyed it the first time, but then the second time you give it an error when you call destroy?
Yes, and then that error right now is currently being emitted. And however, is proposing to not emit an error, not emit the error.
Okay.
This is the question mark. And Luigi is objecting strongly, and is making his objection strong, and Macintosh is approving the change. So this is a typical situation where we need to make a decision on our side.
Right. Okay. So I was going to say, typically we'd make sure that in the issue itself we had, if the conversation was still progressing and the people working on streams just, needed to work through it. But you're basically saying it sounds like there is you believe we're at a stalemate?
Yes, we are at a stalemate. On this specific PR, we are at a stalemate.
Okay. So what's the, I mean, does anybody else have any comments, thoughts, enough context to comment, or do we need people, you know, what would our next step be?
I have a question. How useful would it be to get an error after the stream is destroyed? I mean, can you, for debugging purposes, if an error arrives like late in the game, will you be able to trace it back? So like for debugging purposes, will this be useful for debugging? You know, because
I
it
don't
seems
understand.
like, well, I guess what I'm saying is that, after a stream is destroyed, at least the semantics in my mind of destroy are that all resources related to the stream have been released, right? And so the ability to trigger an error is only due to an artifact of JavaScript, which is that the actual JavaScript object that is the stream is still around, but it's just hollow, right? There's nothing associated with it anymore.
Exactly. Yes.
So, and obviously the place in the code where the error is thrown has a reference to it, and it can keep a reference to it essentially forever. But does it make sense that it's still a stream? Because then you can essentially expect errors from streams that you closed 15 years ago. You're muted. You were.
Can you hear me now? Can you? I have a problem with my headphones. Sorry. Anyway, the key thing here is that so if it was me, if you try to do anything with a stream after it has ended or it has been destroyed, I would have thrown badly in the face of the user to some extent, saying this thing has been destroyed already. So why are you destroying it again, essentially? And that's probably the best answer out of this overall. That could be an answer as well. Like at this point in time, is just that part seems a little bit weird, but we have supported that behavior for some time now. So it's that is that is the problem. So we can the PR has been closed. So I don't know what is the so the question from Ranang is if should we avoid unexpected errors after destroy? And my answer for this is no, we shouldn't. On the other side, calling destroy, like if you call destroy multiple times, one with an error, then you likely have a bug somewhere in your code.
I kind of agree, but it kind of makes me wonder if a stream is destroyed and you call it destroy with an error again, that instead of emitting an event, if we shouldn't just throw and tell you that something has gone horribly wrong.
Likely that might be a good feedback. Okay. Instead of swallowing, let's just throw the error back to the user, essentially.
Yeah.
That can also be, just change that behavior instead and saying, if you call it more than once, then it's a bug on your code, essentially. I fear that will be more breaking than just swallowing them.
Probably, yes. Unfortunately.
So that is my only consideration in that change. So I don't know. It's we might want to send it.
Rather just keep the behavior as it is, because it at least does something with it, rather than. But yeah,
it's like for me, say, throwing after a stream, it's destroyed might make sense. Yeah.
I guess from what I can hear, it sounds like we might be able to come up with what we'd like it to do, but the question is whether it's worth making the change in terms of it being breaking and the benefit, right? Like, is it worth making that change and causing ecosystem breakage, or do we need to figure out how if there is ecosystem breakage, it's just as big a concern as what we'd actually end up having it do, right?
Yes.
And so I guess, and is it, do we think, we could just say, yeah, we understand there's an issue, but it's not something that we think we want to change now because of that potential breakage? Like in terms of our priority list, is this, okay, I'm going to promote Rich too, but is this something we think we need to do in the short term? Or, is it something that we can, basically say, well, we need more information about ecosystem breakage before we'd consider it?
I don't see where I can get that information really.
Okay. So if we can't get that information, do we think it's worthwhile? Like, just on a risk basis, we could say, well, okay, yeah, it's not ideal, but we'd rather not cause breakage, and we're willing to leave it as is for now.
I think the Jeremiah option might be better.
Okay.
So if I would prefer going with Jeremiah option, at least for me. For me, it seems more. However, it will be like essentially saying that if you are passing this with an error, you are trying to. I don't even know if that. Writing your idea on the issue and we send this back to GitHub.
So you cut out there for a second.
I think he asked if you could write up.
Yes, I will do that. Yeah.
Okay.
And send this back to GitHub and then keep discussing. Seems worthwhile.
Okay, so that's next action is Jeremiah will write up a suggestion on issue and we'll go from there. So we'll move on to the next issue unless anybody else has something they want to add. Okay, if not, then the next issue is buffer add harden method 28439. I'm just opening that up. I don't think we have Chalker today. Last time we talked about it being experimental, which I see Chalker has added that to the PR. It has a couple of approvals, but I think the next one is just if people can review the update and approve if they agree. Anybody else have anything else to add on that one? Okay, if not, let's move on to the next issue, which is build on Python 3 compatibility issues, which is 25789. I think that's Rich added that intended to cover or make sure that we covered Python 3, which we also have under the strategic initiatives. Klaus can't make it today, but he has flagged that issue 29246 needs help, which is some of the C++ tests failing. I did have a quick look at it. It seems to need a little bit of more information, at least for me to understand exactly where help is needed. So I might try and see if I can help him do that. But the call was that that's sort of the major blocker right now. So if people can help out, that's a good one to get involved with. Rich, was there anything else on the 25789 that you thought we should call out?
That's what you just called out. That's what Christian contacted me with as well.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to HTTP2, make compat finished match HTTP1 24347.
It's probably me and maybe Anna that can say something. There was a big objection from Anatoly. On this, so essentially he's basically objecting strongly, and he has been engaging a little bit, but not that much. I don't know if he's here on the call. It doesn't seem to. It will be good if you get some other reviews from the TSC, and we make some decision here.
Okay, I guess it's come back onto the TSC agenda.
So, Anna, would you mind if you are here taking a look?
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Also, maybe Jeremiah. I don't know. My take is I have GTM it, so it's fine for me.
Which issues?
24347. I'm passing in the chat.
I'm just looking at the history too. So I guess Anatoly last commented 22 days ago. Well, I guess Rich pinged him 22 days ago. So Rich, I mean, from your perspective, is this completely stalled out?
Whoops, wrong button. I don't know, but we do have a rule about you are allowed to dismiss objections if they're not explained, and 22 days would seem to be a long time. I'm not saying we should do that, but I'm saying that it's an option if this if that's the only thing.
Okay, so the next step is if Anna and Jeremiah look at it and say, hey, we think it's fine, then we would potentially move to that, it sounds like. Does that sound like the next step? Taking the quick note. Okay, so what I've written is, we'll wait for input from Anna Jeremiah, and if they think it's okay, and we don't have any more input engagement from Anatoly, then the objection will be overridden based on our governance. Any objections to that?
James has requested to take a look at this, but I don't think he ever did, and he has probably more knowledge about HCP2.
James has GTM the change.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
So that's my take. That's the thing.
I'll take a deep. I'll try to take a deep.
Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any other discussion there, we'll move on to the Node.js tagged issues. There are just two, which are nominating Tobias and Bethany. The they're both invited, and we're in the period where we get them to attend a number of meetings, and then we'll formalize the nominations. Moving on to the strategic initiatives. So let me find those. Just hold on, I gotta navigate. Okay, I don't think we have Miles. NAPI, we're working away at updated workshop and labs for that workshop at Node+JS Interactive. Gabriel did tweet out some promotion of that, so if people can see that and re-promote as well, that would be great. Otherwise, we have some backports waiting for 8 and 10, and working through a few issues, but I don't think anything else to call out. Gabriel, do you have anything?
No, I think you've covered it pretty well.
Okay. Okay, workers. Anna, do you want to add anything on workers?
From the call.
Okay, so okay. Sorry, didn't notice that. Matteo, core promise APIs.
Core promise APIs. So I have been slowly progressing on adding things to event emitter, my PR to event emitter. So my work on event emitter overall and those streams. So this is slowly progressing. Unfortunately, I had some, there was other things, other areas in core that needed my attention. So I was not able to put enough effort as much as I wanted. There is this, most of my work is currently on this. I'm also working with some folks on the on C39, a candidate to a new proposal called the meter from them that will interact with all of what we are doing so far, what I'm doing so far. So I ask if you could take a look to this PR, which is 27867. And
7867, okay.
Yeah, and so that's it. I don't know why Google Docs does not load up for me. So if you can pass it, okay, yeah, it just loaded. So yeah, I'm adding it to the notes. But yeah, if you can take a look at that PR, it includes most of my changes, and that's it. So I'm adding it there.
Okay. Thanks. Jeremiah, new stream APIs.
Nothing much to mention at this point. Same as we've been for a while. I've been working on other things, specifically async reader, and I need a review still, yeah.
Okay. Don't think we have Michael Zasso. Okay, Python 3, JIP we already talked about. Quick HTTP3, we don't have James. Startup performance, we don't have Joey. Build resources, Rich. Rich, if you're, do we still have Rich? Yeah. We don't seem to be able to hear you. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay, let's try this then. I was saying that if there was, I don't think there's anything from the OpenJS info meeting that needs to be recounted here, although I watched it after the fact and you were actually there. So if you have anything to say about it, great. Otherwise, I need to talk to you and Rod and maybe Joao this week. I'll shoot an email. It just keeps circling back to you guys. So
okay.
we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think in the OpenJS meeting, I don't think anything is going to be a short-term fix for the issues we're talking about. There was some discussion of which overlap in terms of some of the same challenges, but I suspect that there's going to be a relatively long ramp up there in terms of and in terms of, you know, figuring out what to provide and how to provide it. And, you know, it may start to you know, do things around the edges, like our managing our certificates and other resources which we could take advantage of, but I don't think it's going to necessarily change the discussion we need to have internally, at least in the short term. Okay, so that's the end of that list, and that's the end of what we have on the agenda. Is there anything else that people would like to add or discuss before we close for today?
I have a tiny bit of private business, if you can stay on the.
Okay, if we have no other public business, I'm going to stop the live stream.